All right, well, welcome. For those of you, I think most of you know my name, especially because I emailed you all your invite link. But if you haven't had an opportunity to put a face to the name, I am Abby Blackburn Chaffee. I'm the director here at the museum. Thank you all for signing on. I'm a big fan of après-ski. So I figured, why not have a happy hour Zoom? I mean, Zoom has kind of become a lot of our lives lately. Our world revolves around this, and they're always more fun when you have a cocktail. So for everybody, I can't see you except for Poppy, Mark, and Greg here, but if you've got a cocktail, grab your glass. Thanks for coming tonight, and cheers. Okay. So, a little rundown of the Zoom webinar. So a lot of you have probably sat in Zoom meetings, but this is a little bit different. This is a Zoom webinar, and we are all learning it. And you can't see me eating my nachos. No, Peter, we can't see you eating your nachos. So enjoy, indulge. So a little different. So you're only gonna hear from and see the four of us. So myself, Poppy Gall, who's the co-chair of the board, Mark Armstrong, who's the treasurer on the board, and Greg Morrill, who is the other co-chair of the board. So we will be speaking to you tonight, and that's why you can see us. The rest of you are in the background, and if you have a question, there is a little Q&A kind of button on the bottom, so you can enter a question there. There's also a chat portion. You could put, I mean, if you have a question, it'll probably be easier if you just put it in the Q&A, so we have one spot to look at. So that's kind of the basis right now. I'll be doing some screen sharing for the presentation and then the film, and I will say, we've practiced, but this is in transparency. This is the first Zoom webinar we've done. So thank you for bearing with us as we undoubtedly stumble a little bit. Okay, so we'll get started. So I'm gonna do a screen share here. All right, so we have a short PowerPoint of kind of the business of the meeting that we will get through, and then we will run through the film. And keep in mind, when I'm screen sharing, I can't see if there's questions popping up, so we're gonna, for the most part, keep questions towards the end, and I hope you do have some, but we will get to those at the end for sure. So we're not ignoring you, I just can't see them pop up in the screen share. All right, so the flow, welcome. Hi, welcome. We will kind of introduce the officers of our board and our staff. We'll go through some of the highlights from the past year. We will cover past year financials compared to kind of how we're doing now and what we forecast, recognition awards, what's coming up in the future for us, and then we'll watch the film, and the film is only about 10 minutes. So that's the flow of this little happy hour for you. I'm just gonna get started here.
I'll unmute myself, that'll help. So even today, with so many uncertainties worldwide, our mission statement remains the same. We're dedicated to collecting, preserving, and celebrating the rich history of skiing and riding in Vermont. That does not change, but right now, we're actively reinventing ourselves to keep the museum vibrant and relevant. By embracing technology like we're doing tonight on Zoom, we envision a future where the museum will have a far-reaching and global audience and membership. While these changes will stretch us in new ways, we're really up for the challenge, and we're really excited about the silver lining offered by this rapidly changing world and that the pandemic has thrown us in. So thank you for your support, and stay tuned because we've got some very exciting things on our slate that Abby will talk about in a few minutes.
Hi there, I'm Greg Morrill, the other co-chair. You just met Poppy in terms of that. And as you see from this, we have a list, and I'll go through our board of directors here, but I want to take the opportunity to thank all our board of directors for responding to the challenges as Poppy was outlining in her introduction there, that it is challenging times, but the board has been very active, albeit pretty much via Zoom in terms of things. But I think we've got some challenges ahead, but we got some ways to address them and things as we go forward. With that, you can go to the next slide as we kind of show you our board of directors here. If we were having this meeting in person, we'd just have them stand up. But since they aren't, we'll kind of walk you through so you can associate a face with the names. There's Rob Apple, and unless I miss my bet, I think that's Al's High Rustler in the background for Rob. And our treasurer, Mark, who you'll hear from a little later here, Hall of Famer Foster Chandler of Killington fame, and we can go to the next one. Denise Burt Kushwar, a real tie to the local history here in Stowe. Poppy Gall, who you've already heard from. Derek Braddock, who was our member at large on the executive committee and a relatively new board member. We have Peter Graves here showing off his friend list where hanging out with. And Molly Mahar, who's the head of Ski Vermont. Bill McCollum, he's a Paul Robbins Award winner in the past, ski journalist and master ski racer. And there's myself, Greg Morrill. Rick Moulton, who is a noted, I'll call it historical filmmaker, because they're not all about skiing or snowboarding, but they are usually about something historical. I think one of his latest is more about Lowell Thomas in terms of that. And then Jan Perkins, who is our vice chair. However, there's no way we could find any picture that didn't have Chuck in it too. So you got Chuck and Jan, they're a team, and they're a team as far as the museum is concerned too. Parker Reilly, who is now out there doing his Get on Snow. Did I get that right, Parker? And Dave Schmidt, who's apparently very serious. And Sharon Sisler, who is our backcountry aficionado that we have on the board. And that's our board. And as I say, I really want to express the thanks for the time they've put in and the efforts they've put in, both before the pandemic and during the pandemic. So we appreciate all their work. And with that, we'll go on to our staff. Now, for those who actually were part of this meeting last year, we were all excited because we could announce that Abby Blackburn Chaffee was going to be our full-time executive director, but she hadn't really started yet. She wouldn't start for another month. However, now we can say we're even more excited that she is our full-time executive director, and it's just been fantastic the way she's got up to speed so fast and worked on it. That's why we thought, well, why not throw in a pandemic just to make it a little more challenging to get into it? But she's leading us through that as well. The rest of our staff is part-time, and our curator is Meredith Scott, who's a longtime contributor to this museum in terms of that. And of course, our curatorial assistant and front desk associate, Lawrence Swan. Now, I will say our part-time staff is even more part-time due to this COVID type thing. So we appreciate their patience and dedication, even though they may not be getting as many hours in here as typical. But we still really appreciate their efforts in keeping the museum going. And as you'll see, as we try to ramp back up, they'll become more involved again.
All right. Thanks, Greg. We'll run through some of our highlights over the last year. So we opened 3 new exhibits last year under kind of the Origins theme: Green Mountains White Gold, the Origins of Vermont Skiing, and Surfing Snow, Vermont Inspired Boards. That one was curated by JG, who was inducted into the Hall of Fame last year. Those 2 exhibits opened back in December. And then we have 2 contests competing in biathlon, which only opened towards the end of February. So really wasn't even available for a month before we had to close down. So that one didn't get a lot of love yet. And then we had a really successful Hall of Fame in Stowe at the Lodge at Spruce Peak. We inducted 5 new people into the Hall of Fame and awarded 2 people with different, the First Tracks Award and Paul Robbins. So our inductees were Jeff Hastings, John Broadhead, Doug Lewis, J.G. Gerndt, Ann Taylor, and then our First Tracks went to Tim Kelly, and the Paul Robbins Award went to Peggy Shin. But that was a fantastic event. We had about 240 people up at the lodge, which is a great turnout. So it turned out to be a really good fundraiser for us, because that is our kind of primary and signature fundraiser. Our Red Bench series, well, we were only able to complete about half of that. We had kind of planned to do 5. We got 3 in. We had to cancel 2 in March and April. But we had 3 great discussions here at the museum, kind of how small Vermont indie ski areas were bucking the merger trend. And that was kind of right after kind of Vail had bought up some new resorts, and what it takes to create a winter sports product, and the next frontier of Vermont backcountry skiing, which filled the museum with over 90 people. Wildly successful and really fun to be around that kind of energy. And we had 3 different film screenings that we were involved in. The Bound film screening, which was here at the museum. We tried out the Retro Ski Home Movie Night. Greg kind of ran with that one and collected different home movies from all sorts of different decades. So that was really successful, and we definitely look forward to the day that we can do that again. We also partnered with Spruce Peak Performing Arts to kind of bring back the Stowe Mountain Film Festival. That was really fun if you were able to go see that up at the Arts Center. Someday, hope to do that again. And then what's not on that screen, and Greg kind of alluded to that, is we're a month shy from my 1-year anniversary here at the museum. And quite honestly, not in my wildest dreams did I ever think I was going to be doing this during a pandemic. I don't think any of us thought we would be living through a pandemic. So as trying and as challenging as some moments have been over the last few months, I'm still really excited to be here. And we do have, we've made some tough decisions, but we also have found new opportunities moving forward. And I will get right to what that looks like after Mark.
All right, thanks, Abby. So this slide has a lot of numbers on it, but we're really going to focus on 2019, basically last year's actual results, and then 2020, what things look like. We just have the other years there for comparisons and to see trends. So looking at 2019, well, actually, first the category. So we have our income sections on the top. You can see curatorial exhibits, development and fundraising. So that's got things like membership and our fundraising activities. Programs and events would be the Hall of Fame, et cetera. And then the bottom half is the expenses associated with those. So again, looking at 2019, we had 153,000 of total income. If you look at that gray line in the middle, 153,000 of income. We had strong development and fundraising at 55,000, which includes our membership drive, which is a key income contributor, as well as donations. We also had the very good Hall of Fame event that Abby was just talking about. That shows up in the programs and events, that 42,000. Jumping down to the expense side, our curatorial development program line, those costs of 47,000 were higher, again, due to the Hall of Fame. We don't make a lot of money on the Hall of Fame. It's in terms of the meals and the venue. Those expenses pretty much offset the ticket sales. Where we do make money on the Hall of Fame is on the silent auction. We make not a lot, maybe $5,000 or $6,000 there. So it's really not a big income source, but it is a big gross impact on income because of the ticket sales, and then a gross impact on the expenses because of the meals and the venue itself. Also in operations down there in expenses, we had 97,000, which is higher. That's in part due to in July of last year, which Abby was just alluding to. She came on board. She came on board as a full-time executive director. And the board made that decision in order to drive the strategic plan for the museum, because we're involved with so many different activities, exhibits, membership, fundraising, the events. and to provide the necessary expertise and the bandwidth that we felt is needed to drive our plan. So this is our only full-time position, but we made that decision. So you'll see a bit of an uptick there in the operations expenses. And then our total expenses came in at 159,000 last year, and that resulted, unfortunately, in a loss of 6,000 for the year. So then turning to 2020, we, along with everyone else, were navigating these challenging times day by day. Safety has been the key concern, and Abby has done a great job in this regard, while also thinking about things fiscally and just doing things in a very fiscally responsible manner. So I've been very impressed with her agility in terms of just dealing with all the activities that are going on. The decline in our total income from 153,000, that gray line in the middle, to 111,000, that's due to the unfortunate decision we had to make to cancel the Hall of Fame for this year. Again, those are significant gross expenses, but not that significant in terms of the net income. On the expense side, you see the corresponding decline in the programs line. In terms of expenses, we went from 47,000 down to 8. Again, that's primarily the Hall of Fame. The operations expenses at 107,000. That's really two factors. That's a full year of the full-time executive director, offset by savings that Abby's been able to implement in terms of looking at activities that are going on in light of the coronavirus and where can we make some cuts. So that's the 107. And our current forecast, it's still very much a forecast, very fluid as everybody is trying to manage these times. The current forecast, if you can see it, it's $19,000 of a loss for 2020. It's pretty challenging considering that 2018 we had the small loss, 2019 the loss, and now 2020. So it is a significant challenge for the museum. Last 2 points I want to make are that we are participating in the federal payroll protection program, and our loan is in the $16,000 range. And the last point is that Abby's continuing looking for new ways for the museum to operate in the current environment to minimize that net loss of $19,000. So with that, I turn it back to you, Abby.
Thanks, Mark. All right. So before I get into kind of what's coming on the horizon for us, I first want to recognize, and I believe he's on the call, so hi, Mike. Mike Quattriano, who for the second year in a row will be our Volunteer of the Year because he undoubtedly deserves it. I have only been here for a year, but I know that we would be absolutely lost without his, generous time and his skill. He does beautiful work, and we don't have that skill on staff. I mean, you saw our staff list. There's only 3 of us. Some of us are part-time. So really when it comes to some, exhibit installations, and when we have crazy ideas of what we want things to look like, or when we need signs, as you can see in the photo up on the exterior, or if you come visit us in the museum, you'll see our new, what I call a spew guard, the plexiglass barrier. I asked for one of those, and it is like a work of art. It is beautiful in terms of a spit guard. It's beautiful work. So really, really appreciate Mike really kind of being a part of the team. I'm just so incredibly grateful. So thank you, Mike. All right. So with the rest of the world, we closed our doors on March 15th. We had to cancel 2 events in March and April. And we had to kind of guess or imagine what multiple different scenarios looked like and how we could move forward, different financial forecasting for different, I can't even put into words. It has just been this whirlwind of a world that we never really thought we'd have to live in, but making our best guess as to what things could look like when everything is really uncertain. It truly is a guess. So with our best guess in mind, kind of here's what we have coming up. So tough decisions. As Mark mentioned, our Hall of Fame for 2020, we decided to cancel. This was a tough decision. but we also knew that it was the right decision, both financially and for the health and safety of everybody involved. And as Mark mentioned, when we were looking at the financials, you know, you could see that there's a huge cost. So we make a lot at that event, but there's a huge cost of that event too. So to move forward with that event, we probably wouldn't recoup most of those costs. And so for a nonprofit like us, you know, you've seen the numbers, that's just really risky. So we decided, like many other places, to cancel that for 2020 and hope that 2021 looks a whole lot brighter. The new exhibit that would traditionally open in December, that's on hold right now. I can't tell you when we kind of hope to open that. We're sort of going to play that by ear a little bit, but you know, with the uncertainty financially, we're not optimistic that we could find the funds to help us move forward with that. And by funds, I mean sponsorship. So our exhibits, we do get sponsorships to help cover the cost of bringing that exhibit in and the installation and the time that it takes for our curator to put that together for us. So just, you know, with so much uncertainty, it makes more sense for us to kind of put that on hold. We do have one that we kind of know what we want to do next. And we may not have to wait until December 2021. We might fall on a different timeline, but that's just sort of unknown right now. But it makes a whole lot of sense for us not to kind of aggressively push forward with the December opening on that. With that being said, if you aren't already aware, we did push out, I guess this was maybe March or early April, this graphic art challenge. And the graphic art is definitely kind of a piece of what this exhibit would be. And if you haven't participated in that, this gives you plenty of time to participate in that. So basically we have a couple, or one ski, one snowboard, kind of, what's the word, template, that's the word I'm looking for, on our website. And you can sort of design your own, whether it's, you know, inputting that into a professional software and doing something, or taking some crayons or pen or whatever, but designing your own skis or snowboards, sending that into us, and we'll have kind of a piece of that exhibit, which is, you know, the community putting that together. So definitely, you know, go to our website. It's right on our homepage. You can find the link to that and download those templates. We would love for a lot of people to participate in that and have that included in our next exhibit whenever that opens. The red bench. So obviously we can't have large gatherings here. So the red bench is going to go virtual, which is actually really exciting. It gives us an opportunity to host these monthly, whereas, you know, other schedules and other events wouldn't allow us to do that before. So our plan, our hope is to do this monthly starting as early as August. And this also gives us an opportunity to kind of expand the topics and expand where our panelists are coming from. Since they don't have to travel into the museum to be here to be on a panel or be a moderator, and they can kind of sign on from anywhere, this really opens up a whole new world for us. We're in the early planning stages. We kind of had our first committee meeting a couple days ago. So we're in the early planning stages of putting the pieces together, but we have some really interesting topics in the pipeline. And as soon as we can announce some of those, as long as they're further on in the planning stages, I think that you guys will be really excited about those too. Some really timely and relevant and exciting discussion kind of coming your way. Online exhibits. So, you know, we're all embracing this digital world, but I think that this, regardless of the situation we're in right now, is a natural step for us. So we'll be taking some of our you know, past exhibits, and we're making those online exhibits, and then moving forward, that's the hope whenever we open a new exhibit, is to make that online as well. So that is coming soon. An online shop is coming soon. And when I say soon, I am not sure what that timeline looks like, but we are working on it. So in May, if you're on our email list, which I think most of you are, you know that we opened up curbside pickup for our retail shop, and with that came this immense interest to ship items. It was like overwhelming how many people wanted us to ship items, and we just weren't set up to do that or do that well. We didn't have the supplies. And quite honestly, in early May, I wasn't too stoked to be going to the post office. I feel better about it now, so don't worry. But so with, you know, capacity restrictions, canceled events, lost fundraising dollars, we have to think of creative new ways to bring in some income, and an online shop could absolutely do that for us. So we're moving forward with that. We are slowly becoming better equipped to offer shipping, and I have been able to do some of that for some people so far. So that is coming soon as well. And then with the loss of the Hall of Fame this year and that silent auction, and as Mark mentioned, the silent auction is really where we can make the profit of that event. And so last year we made $7,500 from the auction alone, which was fantastic. So our hope is to do an online auction in the fall to kind of replace those lost fundraising dollars from the Hall of Fame silent auction. So more information will be coming on that as well. And we've also been able to increase our social media, and that is in thanks to Poppy and Greg. Poppy handles our Instagram and Greg does our Facebook. I pop in every now and then, but they basically handle that, which is fantastic, and they're doing a great job. And I, even noticed on Facebook, we had a reviewer comment that, someone loved our increased posting and that they were able to kind of connect sort of nostalgically with the ski world because we were posting so much stuff, and we'll continue to do that because we love engaging with you guys online on those platforms. And then we're open, and we'll get into more detail kind of what us being open looks like. But even though we were open, I know that people's comfort levels are all over the map. And so for our little gift shop there, we will always have curbside pickup available as well, because a lot of people are more comfortable with that, especially right now. So how can you all, who are already, the museum community, how can you help, or how can you continue to help? So shop in our store, whether it's in person, curbside, and eventually online. That is, that's a big source of revenue for us. Last year we brought in $15,000 that way, and for a nonprofit like us, that is significant. So we hope that you'll think of us when you need a gift, winter-related decor, a puzzle, as you can see on the bottom. And, we might sustain 2020 in puzzles alone, and if that's the case, then that's fine, as long as you all continue to buy your puzzles from the museum. And we have so much more: books, DVDs, greeting cards. There were all sorts of nice little finds in our little gift shop that we are pretty proud of. And as we move forward with an online shop, our hope is to expand the inventory too and bring some different things in. But that is one kind of tangible way that you can support us. Attend our Red Bench discussions and presentations. So, it's easier to tune in from home. So, as the Red Bench goes online, all you have to do is kind of click a link and you're there from the comfort of your own home. We put a lot of thought and a lot of work into coming up with the topics and building a panel of experts. And we do it in an effort to bring you relevant and timely discussions. Like, the Red Bench is for all of you. So simply attending, tuning in, is your way of thanking us for doing all that work. And so I really hope that when we're ready to start doing those this year, as I said, as early as August, you will join us for those. That is the biggest thanks in terms of that event that you could give us. Just like joining us tonight. Again, thank you. Share our work with your friends. Word of mouth is the best marketing, right? So share what we're doing. Turn your friends into our fans. So if you have friends that love skiing, snowboarding, the winter, kind of share what we're doing. If you follow us on Facebook and Instagram, send along what we're doing. You'd be surprised the amount of people, even in Vermont, that aren't aware of who we are. So share what we're doing. Help us grow kind of our fan base. Donate, and remember us at year end when it comes to your charitable contributions. This is a weird year for sure. And I am not blind to the fact that people's financial situations may have changed. But if you have the ability to donate, and when our year-end campaign comes out, because that's an important time of year for us, and that is when the majority of kind of charitable contributions come in for us, I hope that you'll decide to support us, because we are a donor and member supported organization. So we really do rely on your support, and I know that you all in some capacity have already supported us, so I thank you for that, and just ask that don't forget about us. When that letter comes or that email comes and we need support, remember us. Renew your membership. So obviously, donor and member supported organization. So membership is a huge source of income for us. We also love our membership base. There are lots of benefits that come with that. But one of the new benefits that we added in the fall of 2019, and maybe you're not all aware, our membership starts at $60, but any membership at the $100 level or higher you get a little gold sticker on your membership card, and you receive free admission to over 1,000 museums in North America. So obviously, museums can open now, but they look a little bit different. So I can't tell you the status of every museum right now, but free admission to all of the museums in North America is a big deal. And you may not be doing a lot of traveling this summer, but even just in Vermont alone, I will list some of the museums that are included in this that you can go to for free just by having a membership here at the Ski and Snowboard Museum. The American Precision Museum, the Bennington Museum, Brattleboro Museum of Art and Art Center, Old Stone House Museum, the Shelburne Museum, which I do know they're closed for the summer, with hopes to open up back in the fall, American Museum of Fly Fishing, Vermont Granite Museum, Woodstock History Center, and that's just a small handful of the ones that are included, and that's just in Vermont. So a huge benefit. So if that's of interest to you, all you have to do is become a member at the $100 level or higher. Give a gift membership. Again, just sharing the love with your friends, bringing them in the fold, and turning them into fans of who we are. And as I already mentioned, follow us on Facebook and Instagram. We love engaging with you all online, and the posts that are on Facebook and Instagram aren't necessarily things that you find in our museum, so it's really interesting and fun, and it's always fun. The stuff we post on Instagram and Facebook is always fun, so tune into that and follow us. That actually helps us quite a bit as well. And then stay tuned for other creative ways we're reimagining 2020. Kind of as Poppy said in the beginning, we are actively reinventing ourselves in this time. This is, I don't want to say unprecedented because everybody says that, but it is. And business as usual doesn't really work anymore. So, we've been here for 32 years and we are dedicated to being here for at least 32 more. So in order to do that, we have to reimagine what we're doing. As I already said, the things that are coming in the pipeline, but we're constantly brainstorming. Some of those things stick and some of them make sense for us. And it's not something, it's not a conversation we had and we're just moving forward with the ideas we've already had. We can come up with new ones, and we'll do what makes sense for us. And, if you look at the silver lining, it's kind of a fun way to operate. Nothing is off limits sort of right now. All right. And you can visit us because we're open and we miss you. So we are open Friday through Sunday from 12 to 5. and we are following all state guidelines. And we've actually intensified a lot of those efforts to increase the level of your safety. We have a limited capacity of 10 people in the museum at any one time, which is actually less than 25%. We just felt more comfortable with that. We're requiring masks in the museum. We have hand sanitizer available at the entrance and exit. We sanitize all surfaces and frequently touched items at least 3 times a day. Depending on how many people in here, it may be more. Our interactive displays have been removed, so there's really not a lot of surfaces that is being touched in the museum anyway. And as I said, Mike made a beautiful spit guard for us at the front desk, unfortunately creating a barrier between us, but in these times, I guess fortunately. So we're definitely keeping safe here in the museum, and we want you to feel safe visiting us if that's at your comfort level. I mean, I would say with only 10 people in the museum, if you've been in here before, that leaves a pretty decent amount of space between everybody. And I am one of the more cautious people during this, and I really feel safe with us being open under those guidelines and the things that we're doing. All right, so that concludes the business portion of the evening. And I'm going to stop sharing this screen. Oh, my chat app is disabled. All right, Mary. Mary wants to say hi to Poppy. She likes your beer. And I just enabled the chat app. I did not know that that was.
Hi, Mary.
Okay. All right, let's watch a film. So this film, I'm going to share my screen again, just a different screen. And this film is about 10 minutes long. So we'll watch the film, and it's going to look a little blurry, but that's because it's older footage. It's not your computer. It's not your internet. It's older footage. So we'll watch the video. It's a little under 10 minutes, and then we will circle back. And if anybody has any questions, we will go through them at that time. Here we go. Oh, you know what I forgot to do? Did this in the practice. Forgot to enable the sound.
been going downhill in Vermont for just about as long as anyone can remember. And not just down the hill, across the hill, and eventually up the hill. Skiing is the common thread running through the very fabric of life in Vermont. It's the passion that for generations has brought athletes, entrepreneurs, families, and friends together and sent Vermont skiers and riders to faraway places to compete as Olympians. Frequently, they've returned as champions. Vermonters Andrea Meade Lawrence, Billy Kidd, the Skiing Cochrans, Susie Chaffee, Bill Cope, John Caldwell, Donna Weinbrecht, Felix McGrath, Doug Lewis, Tiger Shaw, and many more helped carve a special place in history for Vermont winter athletes. Skiing in Vermont defines the personality of a hardy people who embrace their environment and cherish the diverse opportunities it provides. Skiing in Vermont has evolved from humble beginnings. Nordic skiing offered a way of getting around during the long months of winter. Between the Scandinavian influence of Nordic, or cross-country skiing, and alpine, came ski jumping. Ski jumping actually preceded alpine skiing as a winter activity. Fred Harris of Brattleboro was an early jumping pioneer, taking a pair of jump skis to Dartmouth with him in 1908. The first ski jumping competition at Dartmouth in 1910 was held on a jump built by Fred Harris. He also constructed a 70-meter hill in Brattleboro that has been frequented and revered by the international ski jumping community. Pursuit of that same exhilaration and freedom would later provide the impetus to go farther, faster, from ever higher elevations. 6 years after Fred Harris's jumping accomplishments, the first descent of a Vermont mountain was recorded. It was 1914 when college librarian Nathaniel Goodrich hiked up, then skied down Mount Mansfield. It would be another 20 years before Yankee ingenuity would result in skiing's first mechanized step. In 1934, on a hillside pasture on Clint Gilbert's farm in Woodstock, Robert and Elizabeth Royce, owners of a local inn, opened the White Cupboard Skiway. A Ford engine and a rope rigged over a series of automobile wheels moved skiers uphill. This simple rope tow was arguably America's first commercial ski lift. The following winter, Wallace Bunny Bertram took over for the Royces. He made improvements to the design and later opened Suicide 6. Because skiers no longer had to climb up, they could make many runs per day, not just one. It was the beginning of a very busy era for Vermont skiing. Within a few years, a dozen more ski areas would open, aided by work performed by members of the Civilian Conservation Corps, or CCC. The CCC was a make-work program initiated by President Franklin Roosevelt to aid those left unemployed by the Depression. Vermont forester Perry Merrill left his position to head the CCC in Vermont, resulting in a boost to ski area development. It was Merrill's idea to lease state lands to ski areas in exchange for rents, which initially supported the CCC. Stowe, Jay Peak, Burke, Okemo, Ascutney, Middlebury Snowbowl, and others reaped the benefits of the CCC workers' knowledge of and dedication to the mountains. Another national challenge provided a boost to Vermont skiing in later years. Soldiers trained to fight in the Italian Alps in the 10th Mountain Division during World War II returned to Vermont after the war to develop ski areas and skiing-related businesses. The 10th Mountain Division had been the brainchild of Minnie Dole, who also fathered the National Ski Patrol System at the National Downhill Races held on Nosedive at Stowe in March 1938. As more and more skiers were flocking to fledgling Vermont ski areas, placing greater pressure on ski area operators to provide faster access, lifts evolved from the rope tow to the Palma, the J-bar, the T-bar, the chairlift, the gondola, and tram. Today, Stratton boasts 3 6-passenger detachable chairlifts, known as six-packs, and nearly every Vermont ski area has at least one detachable quad. Getting skiers up the hill was one thing. Dealing with the vagaries of Mother Nature and unpredictable snowfall was quite another. A brash young entrepreneur named Preston Leet Smith met the challenge of Vermont's unpredictable natural snowfall head-on. In the early 1960s, after Mount Snow experimented with making snow, Smith took the emerging technology to new heights. Fresh out of college, with a degree in forestry and a keen vision for market demand, Smith transformed Killington Peak, Vermont's second highest peak, into Killington Mountain Resort, the largest ski area east of the Rockies. Smith brought snowmaking to the forefront of the ski world. Lifts Olympics and snowmaking aren't the only technological milestones engineered by Vermont ski and snowboard enthusiasts. A young Vermont college student seeking a way to bring new challenges to snow sports pioneered snowboarding. Today, Jake Burton Carpenter's dream has evolved into the world's most recognized snowboard and helped bring 2 more Olympic gold medals to Vermont. Kelly Clark and Ross Powers are just the latest in a very long and prestigious list of Vermonters to earn Olympic or World Cup championships. Today, Vermont is the nation's 3rd largest ski state, trailing only Colorado and California in annual skier days. Skiing remains one of Vermont's most important businesses and cherished activities. The over 20 alpine and 30 Nordic areas contribute more than $1 billion to Vermont's economy and provide employment for more than 11,000 Vermonters. Equally important, more than 2/3 of Vermonters say they enjoy either alpine or Nordic skiing. Given the storied history of Vermont's ski people, places, and technology, it's no surprise that history is made every winter on the white-covered green mountains of Vermont.
So long for now. See you at Bromley this winter.
Okay. Well, I hope that worked, and I hope everybody was able to see that and hear that. Yeah, looks like we have some questions here. Oh. All right, you couldn't hear that, but the video started playing again. Thanks, Bill. Wonderful presentation. Appreciate that. So if anybody has any questions at this point, now would be the time to type it into the little Q&A section that you have on the bottom of your screen. You can type in questions there. I don't see any new ones. So, all right. Well, if there are no questions, thank you all so very much for joining us. And I just want to remind you again, I'm going to put this in the chat box because my background is in fundraising. If you are not yet a member, please join. If you are, you have a little dispensable income, please donate. So those links are in the chat box. Your support and even just being here tonight means so much. I know I said that this would be about a half an hour. This is usually not the case. I guess I had a whole lot more to say than I thought I did. That's not like my personality, but thanks for listening to me for so long and joining us and watching the film. I really, really do appreciate it. And I guess that's it for tonight. Thank you all so much. Visit us if you can. Love to see your face in real life. Oh, question. Hold on. Thanks, Chris. You said nice job, everyone. Thank you. our first Zoom webinar, I would consider that a relative success. So on your end, attendees, if this was not successful, if we messed up in anything that we didn't notice on our end, email me and let me know, because this is how we will be doing our red benches. So if we need to improve on anything, let us know. All right, and with that, happy Thursday, and see you when I see you. All right. Good night.
Thanks.